SAQ Success for Rugby. Here we start the session with dynamic flex. Simply warming up on the move. Dynamic flex is a very important part of the SAQ continuum. It's important to start small and simple and gradually build up the range of movement and the complexity of the drills. Here we have simple ankle flicks. All areas of the body are concentrated upon, such as hips, ankles, core, shoulders. Players really enjoy this type of warm-up and it's very versatile. Here you can see a knee out exercise, working on the groins. Another aspect of dynamic flex is to ensure the players use good technique, good mechanics at all times. In this session we're moving forwards and backwards. I have the players, the whole squad, right across the field. Now as a coach I can keep an eye on them all. I can command them from the centre of the field and get the best out of them. Technique is very important. Here you can see the heads are up, spine aligned, and many of them are using good arm drive. Now we move on to a more complex drill, the karaoke. Here's some upper body work while we're using good foot to ground contact. Very much rugby orientated. Here now we're increasing the range of movement, taking the knee well above the waistband. We start simple and then make the movements more complex. Short fast skips. These are wide skips. Simple swerve runs are all very effective ways of warming up the players for the game of rugby, which after all is multi-directional. The walking lunge is another great dynamic exercise. Russian walk, very effective. It's important to emphasize that these exercises should be performed later on in the session. Again, technique is very important. In these drills you can see the players have been taught to keep their head up and spine aligned and not bent. Now we move on to partner or war drills. Here we are now really challenging the range of movement. It's important to get the heel off the ground, therefore increasing the range of movement of the athlete. These drills can be done midfield, also against fences and walls, depending where you train. We work linear, lateral, knee across, and hip thrusts. Great range of movement, look at this. Very explosive. There are a number of drills that can be used to make sure that the players don't become complacent. And of course most coaches will vary the drills and even add some of their own. There's nothing wrong with using your own imagination here. The next is a progression and a variation of dynamic flex. Here we are working in a circle, around the circle and into a marked area in the center of the grid. Working on curves is a lot more complex than meets the eye. Here is another variation of dynamic flex, warming up with a ball in hand. There are lots of variations here. Flicking, tossing, rolling the ball around the body, while you are actually performing a number of dynamic flex drills. It's important that you vary your dynamic flex to challenge the players and also to keep them motivated. The next stage of the SAQ program is mechanics. Here we are now just introducing to the players good running technique. And now we transfer it onto the hurdles. Here we're doing a simple dead leg run. Good arm drive, good fast technique. These guys now are getting pretty experienced at it, and their confidence is growing. We mustn't take it for granted that our players have come through systems where they're given the experience of good running technique. So therefore working on mechanics is crucial. You need to look at aspects of how the arms are driven back, not across the body, and ensure that the ball of the foot hits the ground, not the heel. Again, looking for good technique, good foot placement, and then acceleration. The acceleration phase, we're trying to get them to lean and step forward, not step back. Here's a simple coach-directed drill, lateral stepping over a hurdle. The next stage of developing successful multi-directional explosive players is the development of fast feet, the innovation stage. Here, slightly advanced, we're doing a crossover ladder drill with good ball skills. Not only are we developing good fast feet, but eye-hand coordination and ball skill. The next stage, we're doing a lateral passing drill off the ladders. One of the areas of concern was ensuring that the arms are driven after the ball is passed. Here you can see the arms are being fired and the players are more in control and accelerating support. As a rugby coach, always ensure that the passing skills are as good quality as the foot skills down the ladder. Now we're coming off the ladders laterally and turning into the pass. The particular ladders we're using here are the short ones that we designed specifically for professional rugby players. Remember, a lot of the initial movements of rugby players is over the first few yards, and perfecting explosive movement during that period is very important. These Super 12 players will be playing rugby at a very high, intense level. You can see now the technique and footwork is improving. Now we move on to the accumulation, simply the bringing together of the previous menu of drills. Mechanics, swerving, fast feet. Here it's quite complex. The lateral movement there tricking them a little bit. On to swerves, some good technique. This is where you're really putting the athlete under pressure. And this is where you're more likely to see the good techniques break down because of that pressure. Accumulation stage is also a great time to develop conditioning. It's high intensity, explosive, multi-directional. This is a simple drill, but it has all the movements used in a game of rugby. Acceleration, lateral steps, swerves, and re-acceleration. Tremendous stuff. This is more of a specific accumulation where we're working on acceleration, deceleration in front of defender, and then stepping in. Good arm drive, good form, excellent control, then around the final opposition. The next stage is explosion. This is where we use an array of techniques to develop really explosive players. In this drill, it's a simple out and back with a lateral pass. We're using 2 Viper chords here because these players are explosive, strong, and are at the stage of the season where they really need to be worked. Now we're moving on to the contrast phase. Watch him explode. Excellent work. Remember, quality, not quantity, is the answer for good coaching of SAQ programs. We're trying to combine conditioning, development of explosive athletes, and high level of rugby skills at the same time. This is where the neuromuscular system will adapt and hopefully, in more cases than not, perform in the actual field of play. Now we're doing accelerated overspeed. This is a simple drill, but very effective. Here we are using a Viper belt with 2 flexi cords, and he's exploding onto the ball. And now the contrast phase. Excellent work. The next drill we call a sandwich drill. This is for inside backs, outside backs, where there's a lot of crowding and a lot of good explosive lateral movement needed to make space. The resistance is being provided from both sides, so it's really hard work and the player is under a great deal of pressure. You can see though he's using good technique, good foot to ground contact, and he's working well with his arm drive. Now he takes the belt off and he's going to perform the contrast phase, which is very important. Here you'll see him really explode. Excellent work. He's fighting now the power that he's developed. The next is a progression of the drill. This is one we designed specifically for centres. Here we've got the lateral resistance from both sides, and now a gap opens up and the centre bursts through it. Here we go again, working laterally, and now explode through the gap with resistance from the back. This is a simple halfback drill. The halfbacks were actually concerned that when they got poor ball they would have to take it into contact, so therefore they wanted to be more explosive. Again, we're using 2 flexi cords for additional resistance. These are always checked for safety. Belts and connections are checked before every session. As you can imagine, with the explosive work going on, safety is very important. These are simple toe rope runs. Again, using 2 flexi cords. Here one player is getting excellent resistance from behind, while the other is getting assistance. The next drill is where we're doing collision work with resistance, straightforward shield hits. Again, technique as a rugby coach is very important, ensuring the spine is aligned, the head is up. And now we contrast and really drive the shield back. Look at the hit. Awesome. The next explosive drill we designed for the laws regarding getting back on side and hitting a ruck or a maul. Players coming back from an offside position now can only drive or rebind onto a ruck or maul from a straight line and not from the side. So here, to make the movement more explosive, we designed this SAQ drill. It's very rugby specific and very effective. Here again, coming from offside to onside and driving on from behind the last foot. The player becomes fatigued because of the high intensity of the work. And now we're getting ready for the contrast. As you can see, he's worked really hard. It doesn't matter that the time between the contrast to resistant work is too long. This is only about a minute, and now we're onto the contrast and he'll fly through the shields explosively. Again, excellent work. Here is the same drill, but we've modified the footwork patterns of going backwards. Notice we're going sideways, slightly crab-like to go backwards in defence, to go forward. This is because we wanted to be in a driving position, just there and then forward again. This now prevents the player from taking a step back to go forward. The next explosive drill is pick up and drive with support runners. Again, the players really enjoy this type of work because it's rugby specific, it makes sense. Sidesteppers are fantastic for rugby, for lateral development. Here again, making sure that we're using the right handling skills with the ball in close contact. Two hands on the ball, or sometimes one hand ready to hand off. On the contrast phase, just watch how fast the feet of the players are moving. Now they're becoming really explosive. Good control, short steps on the ground, excellent work. The final one is quite amazing. The speed of the feet there, great work. The next stage of the explosion phase is one that is absolutely exhilarating, but also needs to be administered properly because these guys will be flying. It is the overspeed phase. We call it the constant overspeed. This is where we use something called the overspeed tow rope. It's a pulley system. This provides the athletes with a feeling of express speed and gradually will increase their speed at the high level. As you can see, the players are absolutely flying. Again, important as a coach to maintain good form, good foot to ground contact. Only the very competent should attempt to use the overspeed tow rope. It's a fantastic piece of equipment that needs lots of training. Some good technique here, excellent work. The final stage we call expression of potential. This is where we want to bring together all the previous skills in a more specific group manner of training. Here, quite simply, we've got quite a competitive drift defence with breakaway bouts. This is now really challenging the players to communicate, work together as a group to be effective defenders. You can do it in twos, threes, fours, whatever. The next expression of potential drill is an advancement from the drift defence. Here they're in a grid which is marked out by 4 colours of 3 cones. The coach nominating the colour of the cones. Distance between the players must be maintained without breaking the breakaway belt. Also, it's trying to pattern the proper way of turning and the most efficient way of turning without breaking the belts. The intensity of this drill can be changed depending on the coach and the speed of change, or the speed of the call. It's quite intense. It's a lot more difficult than it actually looks. After a period of time, the players will improve, their communication will improve, and at the same time it's very important that we assess their technique under pressure, the quality of their movement under pressure, and review if additional work at the next session needs to be implemented. The SAQ program can also be used for problem solving. Here we have a coach who is wanting to work on improving the footwork and the speed to the defensive pattern. By using the ladders, he's achieving his goal. Here you can see fast feet, quicker combination, coordinated defence, quicker defensive alignment. Success for rugby.